Welcome to the Dairy News and Views podcast, a production of the Iowa State University Extension and Outreach Dairy Team. Our podcast covers current educational, research, and industry tools available for your operation to manage healthy cows and calves while producing the highest quality dairy products. Thanks for joining us today on Dairy News and Views from the ISUEO Dairy Team. I'm Jen Bentley, Northeast Iowa Dairy Field Specialist, and today I'm here with my colleagues, members of our Extension Dairy Team, and we're happy to introduce our new member to the team, Dr. Phillip Jardon. So I want to welcome back our podcast Dairy Team. And so while we get started, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves to our listeners again, Gail and Fred.
So I'm Gail Carpenter. I'm the State Dairy Extension Specialist located in Ames.
And I'm Fred Hall, the Western Iowa Dairy Specialist located at Orange City in Sioux County.
Sounds good. Well, we're always happy to have a new member joining our Extension Dairy Team, right? So we wanted to introduce Dr. Phillip Jardon to our podcast listeners and learn a little bit more about his background and kind of his future goals for his position here at Iowa State University. And so we decided to bring him back onto our podcast here today. So thanks for joining us, Dr. Jardon. And as we get started here, why don't you give us a little bit of background about yourself?
All right. Well, thank you, Jen. I grew up in Iowa, southwest Iowa, the very southwest county, Fremont County. My dad had a purebred registered Holstein herd down there. Many people are familiar with Jardon Holsteins. And I went to college at Northwest Missouri State University right across the border and actually studied chemistry there. And then went to vet school at Iowa State and graduated there in '86. And then practiced in upstate New York for a while, then practiced in Northeast Iowa up in Reedland, and then decided to go to California to do the residency at the vet school there in dairy production medicine. And stayed out there as a faculty member for a while, and then worked out there on some of the large dairies before coming back to Iowa to work at West Central Co-op, where I did technical service and then worked for Standard Nutrition. But the last 11 years, I've been working for Elanco Animal Health out in California, and it's good to be back in Iowa. Just moved back a couple weeks ago.
Sounds like you've had a lot of experiences. What's your specialty, or what's your kick out of the veterinary side of things?
I guess I'd like to say working up problems. My 7th grade high school science project was on milk fever on my dad's farm. And I've worked on milk fever ever since then in my professional career and in research when I was in vet school. And so that's really like working up down cow problems. Milk fever problems, transition cow problems, that kind of thing is fun. I think we can make some good progress there. And we've learned a lot about that confusing part of the world over the last 20 years.
What do you think the biggest change you've seen is in the transition cow field since you graduated vet school to where we are today?
Probably around our acceptance of disease level. I mean, milk fever is almost a thing of the past. I mean, we still get a little bit. When I graduated from vet school, it wasn't uncommon to get a herd that had 5 or 10% DAs, and it was just kind of accepted that that's going to happen. And now we're kind of disappointed if we don't get that way under 1%. So we've learned a lot about transition cow management and how to do that a lot better.
Do you think part of that is the size of the herd? You know, when we were a 40 cow dairy and we had chickens and pigs and 40 mama cows, do you think that's played a factor in us going, we're dairymen today?
That's part of it, and it helps you specialize the labor and the facilities. So on a little 30 cow dairy, it's hard to have a special pen for the dry cows or the close-up cows or the far-off cows. Certainly some size can let you do that, but little dairies can also be very successful when we've learned about these programs and learned how to do them better. It's not unique to just the large dairies, but that's part of it. It makes it a little easier to do some things.
What do you think makes Iowa special? So you've lived a lot of different places. It sounds like you've done East Coast, West Coast, back to the Midwest. And we're really excited to have you back to the Midwest. So I know it's your home state and maybe you're a little bit biased, but what do you think makes Iowa special? What are you excited about coming back?
Of course, the people is part of it. But also, I think just from the environment, from the dairy side, the access to lots of good feeds is really good. But I think just the mindset of the people there, I think, is really positive about dairying and agriculture in general.
So, Dr. Jardon, you do have kind of a split appointment, right? So you have an extension appointment, but maybe explain to our listeners kind of where you're located on campus and the different roles that you're going to be playing in your position.
Okay, so I'll be located at the veterinary school in an office there. So part of my job will be teaching veterinary students production medicine, dairy production medicine, and dairy nutrition, and some general nutrition classes. But I'm also going to be helping teach some of the classes on campus to the mostly the senior dairy science students, and also have an extension, part teaching, part extension, and a little bit of research appointment. And I like to think that all those things kind of meld together. You're never doing just one of those things. You're doing some research to learn what to teach, and you're having students help you do the research and teaching all the time. So to me, they're not in clear buckets.
I think that's one of the fun parts about working at a land grant institution is that, well, I have a similar appointment as yours. I'm split 3 days between research, teaching, and extension. And I think it's kind of like the dream when the land grant colleges were established, that all of these things would kind of play together to make the agriculture, or the dairy industry in this case, just more progressive and help us advance. And I think that's a big part of, we were just talking about transition cows. I think that's a big part of why we have grown so much, is because of land grant universities like Iowa State. Of course, I'm biased, but
yeah. No, I agree. That's very true. A lot of the programs that we use now, the basic research that helped us do things better, came from research at land grant universities. Yeah.
You'd mentioned that transition cows and down cow problems were near and dear to your heart. What kind of research are you looking forward to? I know our researchers, as you just pointed out, have done fantastic research, but what are you kind of thinking is going to be your projects?
Well, I'm hoping to look at several problems that we're experiencing in the field. One's hemorrhagic bowel syndrome. I don't know how to go about researching that, but I'd like to get some good practical solutions for that out in the field. I think there's things on calf raising that we still need to do a better job with. And some with mastitis too. My colleague here, Pat Gordon, is really good with mastitis. I hope to work closely with him on some projects. When you look at what the number one problems are through the years, even though we've gotten a lot better at controlling respiratory disease in calves and in controlling mastitis, they're still the number one issues in calves, along with scours in calves. So working up some of those issues is part of what I'd like to do on individual farms with stuff that we already know, and also some good basic and also applied research.
So do you think it's fair to say that even though how do I want to say this? Would you think it's fair to say that we're dealing with a lot of the same problems, right? We're just different versions of the same problem. I think mastitis has been something that we've been handling for a while, and transition cows have always been a bottleneck on farms, right? So is it just different approaches to the same problem, or different problems expressing themselves in maybe different ways?
Yeah, but I think higher expectations.
Yeah.
When I graduated from vet school in '86,
lower tolerance. Yeah.
A million somatic cell count was what the legal level was, and now pretty much it's 400,000. You're in trouble if you can't get it below that. So the expectations is higher, and so that just means we have to do a better job, which makes sense. We always have to strive to do better, make a better product.
One of the most interesting things that I've seen over the years is when I was a young man, we never did any tests on the farm. We'd call Doc and he'd come out and pull a milk sample. And now, man, almost every dairy I'm on, they'll got a problem, they take a sample, throw it in the incubator, and they do a lot of that. Do you think we're going to see more and more of that as we go through, where we will do a better job of identifying before we pull the trigger on a treatment, and even call the vet?
I do think so, yeah. The technology just gotten better. It's easier to have things that you can do on farm. So you bring up the culturing there, but also some blood tests, right? So if you have a cow that's sick, you might be able to test her and see if she really does have low calcium, if she's really going to respond to a bottle of calcium. You might know that before you actually give her that. We used to kind of do it just guessing that we think it's going to help. But now we have better tools to let us know if that really is the case. And better things to monitor the cows too with, with BHBA testing and glucose testing, different programs on that.
So what do you think that does to the veterinary profession? What do you think how that's gonna evolve over the next few years?
Well, I think it'll continue the progression it's already had. It used to be call the vet out for everything, right? Whether you're going to open up a teat or treat a cow with mastitis or lots of different treatments, even the milk fevers. When I first practiced veterinary medicine, treating milk fevers was a common thing that we did. And now that's very seldom. And I think that's a positive change. We need to train the lay people on the farms to do some of those things because they can get to it a lot faster. Every minute a cow's down with milk fever is an important minute. So I think those are positive changes. I think veterinarians' roles more morphed into helping train those people on the farm, make sure they know what they're doing, make sure the diagnosis is correct, and then helping train with procedures and things like that.
So Dr. Jardon, I know you've only been in your position for about 2 weeks now, right? But you've had some opportunities to maybe get out with either myself, you've ridden along with some projects that we're working on, as well as you're going to be taking a ride with Gail next week on a field day. And that's kind of our extension work, right? Is getting out into the field and meeting with producers. But what are you most looking forward to kind of in your extension part of your role?
I think it's helping with move the needle on some issues that are common on problems. So common on dairy. So one is cows bunching. I think helping with parasite control and that, helping stable fly control is going to be a good thing. In my previous role, I learned a lot about flies and fly control, and I'm looking forward to incorporating that into the programs. Probably also just one is just general troubleshooting and listening to what people's problems are and helping them solve their issues through a team approach. I like it when in the same room we can have the veterinarian, nutritionist, maybe the banker, the breeder, all kind of coming together to help a dairyman do a better job. It doesn't always have to be together in the same room at the same time, but we're all communicating and doing working toward the same goal.
So what do you do when you're not working?
Well,
I'm sure work's not your whole life, right?
It is not. For exercise, I like to ride my bike. So it's fun to live here in central Iowa where we have lots of nice bike trails. They're not as hilly as the ones we had in California, but
Yeah.
they're very nice and very pretty and very safe. I like that. I like living closer to my grandkids. I spent a lot of times with the little Jackson and little Molly.
Did you get to ride in Ragbri last week when they were through town?
I did ride one day. I rode on Wednesday.
Was that Ames to Des Moines?
It was Ames to Des Moines, and I started in Huxley, so I was 10 miles shorter than everybody else.
Oh.
I picked the shortest, flattest day.
And it was the hottest day too, though, right?
It was one of the hottest days, yep.
Yeah.
And the next day was a lot longer and hillier, though.
Yeah.
It was fun. I wore my drink milk biking shirt, and I got several compliments on it, and several people took their picture with me.
Very good. So what's your favorite dairy product?
Well, I'd have to say probably milk. I drink milk with every meal. People almost make fun of me for it. And I don't do it just to patronize the dairy industry. I do it because I think it's the best drink there possibly could be. But I also put cheese on every sandwich and have a soft spot for ice cream, but also yogurt and cottage cheese.
You can't pick just one. Yeah.
I have a hard time picking just one.
Is there, well, this is one of those oddball questions. You said you put cheese on every sandwich. Is there a sandwich you don't put cheese on?
Peanut butter and jelly, maybe.
Well, maybe peanut butter and jelly, but I've done that too. But
Oh.
but
One of my favorite sandwiches is pickled herring. And I just can't imagine cheese on pickled herring. I'd say that might be the one.
I don't know if I would do that. And the only thing I don't drink milk with is grapefruit. Grapefruit and milk. Just
Oh yeah, that wouldn't.
Yeah.
That wouldn't work great.
But that's the only exception I can think of. It's great with pizza.
True.
Well, we want to thank you, Dr. Jardon, for being on our podcast here today. Any last comments before we close?
Well, I'm looking forward to getting out in the field and meeting the Iowa producers I haven't met, and I hope that we can do good things together.
Where can people get in touch with you if they wanna pick your brain about anything?
Well, my email address is probably a good way to contact me. It's pjardon@iastate.edu, or my mobile phone, area code 559-381-7152. Those are two good ways to get a hold of me.
And your information will be on our dairy team website. So folks that are used to going there, they'll be able to pick it up.
Very good. I'm looking forward to getting out there in the industry. And when I was in California, one of the things I really enjoyed doing was helping the FFA and 4-H kids, and hope to continue with that.
Sounds great. Well, I want to thank everybody for being on the call here today, and we want to thank our listeners for joining us, and we look forward to visiting with you on the next Dairy News and Views from ISU. This institution is an equal opportunity provider. For the full non-discrimination statement or combination inquiries, go to www.extension.iastate.edu/diversity/ext.